every single day it feels like.
Yeah.
We're just drowning in information,
Oh,
right?
totally.
Articles, reports, quick thoughts, data everywhere. It's constant.
Yeah, a real flood.
And it's really hard sometimes to actually pull something useful out of all that noise, something that, helps you understand or actually do something different.
Exactly. And that's really what we're trying to do here in this deep dive.
Mhm.
We want to cut through all of that clutter, pull out the really key insights from, well, a lot of solid source material that we've looked at.
Yeah.
And it's all curated specifically for you, for our listener. The idea is clarity, real substance on a topic that honestly affects pretty much everyone.
And that big topic today, it's strategic planning.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I know it sounds maybe a bit corporate, like something you only hear in boardrooms.
Yeah, it can have that reputation.
But it's really not just that. It's a fundamental process. It's foundational, really, for how we achieve anything significant. Whether you're figuring out your own life path, running a small team project, or, guiding a huge global company, strategic planning is kind of the hidden framework for getting things done.
And what's so interesting, I think, is just how universal it is.
Right.
Strategic planning isn't some, secret knowledge for the elites. It's fundamental to how we manage our day-to-day lives. Seriously, think about it. Planning errands to be efficient, that's strategic thinking.
Or mapping out a career change.
Exactly. Or, on a bigger scale, helping organizations navigate, these increasingly complex and, let's face it, often chaotic environments. It really boils down to maximizing certainty where you can, minimizing the risks you know are out there, and just trying to get the best possible outcome when things are ambiguous, which they often are.
Okay, so what's the journey for you, our listener, today? We're going to really unpack what strategic planning is, how it's different from things that sound similar.
Like strategic thinking, for example.
Exactly. We'll look at the advantages, the real benefits it brings. And maybe more importantly, the actual steps, the tools you need, not just to make a plan, but to make sure it actually, happens, comes to life.
Yeah, how do you make it real?
We'll explore setting the stage for success, gathering the right information, the intelligence, if you will.
Charting that compelling future.
And translating those big ideas, those conceptual plans into concrete action.
And we promise we'll do this quickly, but thoroughly. We want to give you those aha moments, those key insights, without just drowning you in more information.
No information overload here.
That's the cool.
Okay, let's ground this a bit. Think about planning in just, everyday life. It's often so second nature we don't even label it planning.
Right.
Like you need to run errands. You're not just driving aimlessly, are you? You're figuring out the best route post office, then grocery, then the bank, maybe.
Check your keys, your wallet.
Maybe checking traffic on your phone first. That is planning. Or planning a vacation. You don't just show up at the airport, right?
Yeah.
You pick places, book things, think about what to pack.
Or even switching careers. You need to figure out what skills you need, how you'll get them.
It's not just making a schedule. It's about forming an intention, figuring out your goal, and then deciding the specific steps you'll take to get there. It's this constant little adjustment process.
And if you take that basic idea and scale it up to an organization, the core principles, they're surprisingly similar.
Really?
Yeah. Careful preparation, looking closely at the information you have, making believable decisions, using the right tools, whether it's one person planning errands or a giant company planning its future. But the stakes get higher, right? The bigger the organization, the more complex its world is, the more absolutely critical strategic planning becomes. It's not optional if you want to thrive long term.
It's the difference between just reacting and actually shaping your destiny.
Well put, yeah.
And here's something that's really shifted over time, hasn't it? The role of the individual.
Oh, massively.
It used to be planning was just for the C-suite. The top executives, they made the plan, everyone else executed.
Very top down.
But that's really changed. Now, people at all levels, a supervisor managing a team, even someone working on their own projects within a bigger company, they're expected to think strategically. It's not just about hitting your own targets anymore. It's about how your work fits into the bigger organizational picture.
Absolutely. And the implication there is huge. It means everyone, no matter their job title, needs to keep that strategic perspective in mind. You have to think strategically when you're following the plan, sure, but also when things go sideways, when challenges pop up, which they always do.
Right.
So it's not just for the execs. It's about building that strategic mindset through the whole company, so everyone feels empowered to think that way.
That frontline person might see a customer trend way before the VP does.
Exactly. They have that ground level intel.
So, okay, if everyone's involved, that brings up some big questions for organizations, doesn't it? Like, how important is this to us, really?
Yeah, fundamentally.
And how much are we actually willing to invest? Time, effort, money, because it's not free.
No, it requires real commitment. These aren't small questions. They set the stage for the whole thing.
They show how serious you are.
Right. And then you get into the tougher challenges.
Mm.
How do we really get those mid-level folks, those frontline employees, involved meaningfully? Not just asking for input, but actually using it.
That's tricky.
And how do we know if things are going off track during execution? What are the warning signs? And what's the plan to fix it quickly? Another big one. How do you connect the big picture strategic thinking with the day-to-day strategy execution, making sure that vision actually translates into action?
Keeping that link strong.
Yeah. And maybe the most human challenge, how do you help people who are probably already swamped with work actually embrace the changes that come with a new strategy? How do you get buy-in instead of resistance?
Convincing them it's not just more work, but smarter work.
Precisely. That's often the hardest part.
Okay, let's get precise for a moment. When we say strategic planning, what exactly do we mean?
So at its most basic, strategic planning is the act of creating the strategic plan.
The process itself.
Right. Usually it happens in a specific meeting, or maybe a series of meetings, workshops, whatever you want to call them. And the output, the thing you create, is the strategic plan. That document.
And that document isn't just vague ideas.
No, ideally not. It should be pretty comprehensive. It lays out, where the organization is right now, its current situation, and then it details where it wants to be, that desired future state.
Like a map from point A to point B.
A detailed one, yeah. And the process to create that map involves several steps. You prepare for the planning sessions, you analyze information, internal stuff, external stuff.
Strengths, weaknesses.
Opportunities, threats, exactly. Then you use that analysis to shape or refine your strategic direction, your goals. Then comes the decision-making, choosing the actual path forward.
Yeah.
And crucially, it doesn't stop there.
Right. The plan isn't static.
Not at all. You have to keep assessing how things are going, measuring success, learning from it, so your next planning cycle is even better. It's iterative.
Constantly refining the map as you travel.
You got it.
Okay, so that's planning. But you mentioned strategic thinking earlier. How is that different? Because they sound really similar.
They do, and they're related but distinct. Strategic thinking is, well, it's broader. It's the cognitive side of things.
The mental work before the plan?
Kind of. It's that expansive consideration of all the facts, all the information, trying to deeply understand the present, spot future trends, imagine possibilities. It's where you define your core values, develop that mission and vision we talked about. It's the intellectual foundation for the plan. More fluid, maybe a bit messier.
So thinking is the why and what if, and planning is the how.
That's a good way to put it. Strategic thinking requires you to shift your perspective too. You can't just focus on your own little piece of the puzzle.
Seeing the whole board.
Exactly. Understanding how all the parts connect, like how changing your hiring practices might ultimately affect your ability to achieve the mission. And it's not just about today. It's actively pulling in lessons from the past, what worked, what didn't, and constantly looking ahead. What do customers want next? What's happening with technology? What external forces might help or hurt us?
Seeing the forests and the trees and how they interact.
Precisely.
Okay, so planning is the act, thinking is the mindset. Where does strategic management fit into all this?
Strategic management is the big umbrella. It's the overarching concept that holds both thinking and planning.
The whole system.
Yeah. It's really about deciding where your organization wants to be in its environment and then doing everything needed to get there and stay there.
Oh.
So it includes acquiring the right capabilities, allocating resources effectively, setting performance goals, monitoring how you're doing against those goals.
The whole life cycle.
Right. Plus the constant assessment, the feedback loops, adapting as you go for continuous improvement. So strategic planning. It's a absolutely critical part of strategic management, but it's not the whole story. Strategic management is the ongoing commitment to the journey. #tag benefits and potential pitfalls of strategic planning.
Okay, let's talk benefits. Why go through all this effort? What's the payoff for strategic planning?
Well, the most obvious benefit is that roadmap we mentioned. A good strategic plan gives you focus, direction.
Structure.
Yeah, structure for your planning. You make sure you do the analysis properly, you formulate your goals clearly, and you actually follow through on execution. It turns, vague hopes into a concrete path,
Takes the ambiguity out.
or at least reduces it. And beyond just the plan itself, the process of planning is a huge forum for that strategic thinking we just discussed. It forces you to look outward. What's the competition doing? What's happening in the market? And inward, what are we really good at? Where are our weaknesses?
Makes you confront reality.
It does. It encourages you to evaluate where you are now. Really envision where you want to be. Think about different ways to get there. It also forces you to be realistic about resources, time, money, people, equipment. You can't do everything.
Right, prioritization.
Exactly. And thinking about contingencies. What if this happens? What's plan B? So ultimately, the choices you make, the actions you take, are much more likely to get you the results you want, the ones aligned with your mission and vision.
And maybe it frees up mental energy day to day if the big picture is clear.
That's a great point. It absolutely can. Less agonizing over every little decision.
Okay, so lots of potential upside. But what makes the process itself truly effective? What are the key ingredients?
Well, first off, that vision has to be grounded. It can't be, as the source material colorfully puts it, a mirage or hallucination.
Right. Needs to be believable.
Believable, attainable, aspirational, yes, but something people can actually see happening and get behind.
What else?
Data. You need good information, obviously, but you have to avoid that paralysis by analysis.
Getting stuck waiting for all the data.
Yeah, which never comes because it's always changing. You need enough data to make solid decisions, but you can't wait forever. It's a balance.
Like prepping ingredients but not reading every cookbook first.
Exactly like that. And crucially, the environment in the planning session needs to be right. You need psychological safety.
People need to feel safe speaking up.
Yes. Open questioning, welcoming different views, even disagreements. That's where you uncover blind spots, find overlooked opportunities, and it builds real buy-in when people feel heard.
Makes sense.
Also, effective planning really leverages what the organization is already good at, its capabilities, knowledge, skills, structure. And it thinks proactively about competitors, using your own strength, tangible things like supplier networks, intangible things like reputation or employee expertise to counter them.
Okay, but what if it goes wrong? What are the hazards of poor planning?
Oh, it can be really damaging if people feel like the process is just for show, or worse, that they're being manipulated. They check out. They check out, get skeptical, maybe even withdraw completely. And it can get worse.
Oh, so?
People might subtly sabotage things. Maybe they hold back good ideas or give biased information or just kind of slow things down.
Undermine it from within.
Yeah. And the plan that comes out of that, it lacks credibility. Nobody really believes in it, not even the people who are in the room.
So it won't get implemented properly.
It might get rejected by key stakeholders, like the executive sponsor. Or if it does get pushed through, it could lead the whole organization down the wrong path, wasting resources. Then you get frontline employees thinking, why bother? And putting in minimal effort. And executives might just wash their hands of future strategic planning attempts altogether. It poisons the well.
Like building a bridge half the team refuses to cross.
Exactly. A recipe for failure.
So it's crystal clear that a good strategic plan doesn't just happen by accident.
Not at all. It needs deliberate, focused effort.
It really depends on the participants following a clear process and actually putting in the work, their time, their energy, their best ideas, no passengers allowed.
Right. And that connects to a core philosophy here. The people involved in planning and the people who will be affected by the plan later, they are absolutely central to its success.
It's all about the people.
Fundamentally. So the atmosphere for the planning has to reflect that. Everyone needs help understanding the current situation, the context, and the organization needs to make sure it can actually deliver on what stakeholders need now and in the future. Sometimes that means you need a whole change management plan and a communication plan baked in from the start.
Building that shared understanding is key.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's get practical. The actual sessions. When should they happen? Where?
Good questions. The advice is pretty straightforward. Treat it like any crucial business meeting.
Professionalism matters.
It does. Pick dates that cause minimum disruption, especially for senior leaders. You need them there.
And location. On-site. Off-site.
Often going off-site is better.
Why is that?
It helps minimize distractions from daily work fires. People can focus. And importantly, if discussions get sensitive or intense, it keeps them in context, Less chance of misunderstandings if someone overhears part of a complex debate.
Good point. Don't want strategy discussions echoing down the hallway.
Exactly. And the room setup, the equipment, the supplies, all those details matter for creating a productive environment.
Okay, who actually needs to be in that room? Getting the right participants seems critical.
It's make or break, really, and it's usually not just the top executive.
You need a mix.
Definitely. Think executives, sure, but also key managers, supervisors, maybe even some individual contributors with deep operational knowledge.
Yeah.
And sometimes bringing in external folks, like key customers, can provide an invaluable outside-in perspective.
What's the value they all bring?
It's diverse. Access to specialized knowledge, that intel from different corners of the business. They help spot those internal strengths and weaknesses and those external forces. Their involvement also smooths the path for execution later. They understand the why behind the plan. They can identify potential roadblocks early. The Force even mentions using a participant matrix to make sure you've got all the right perspectives covered systematically.
Like assembling that dream team.
Yeah, where everyone has a unique contribution.
So once you've picked your team, how do you prepare them? You can't just throw them into a room cold, can you?
No, absolutely not. You need to set expectations clearly. The notification they receive should explain why they were chosen, what unique input you need from them, maybe analyzing specific data, or offering insights on product quality, for example. And beyond the logistics, encourage them to do some thinking beforehand. Reflect on strategic thinking itself, on planning, on management.
Prime the pump a bit.
Exactly. Maybe even suggest some reading classic strategy books like Frobeniak's Making Strategy Work, Mintzberg's Strategy Safari, or Kim and Maborn's Blue Ocean Strategy. It just helps get everyone on a similar wavelength.
Get their strategic minds warmed up.
Right.
Okay, the session itself needs structure. An agenda is obviously key. What makes for a good agenda in this context?
A really effective agenda is more than just a list of topics. It needs clear objectives for the meeting, the specific questions or issues you'll tackle.
Time allocation.
Crucial for keeping things on track. Also, listing the process or tools you'll use for each section, like brainstorming or SWOT analysis. And finally, defining the desired results. What does success look like for this session? What tangible outcome are we aiming for?
And beyond the agenda, rules.
Yes, establishing ground rules or rules of engagement up front is really helpful. Things like distinguish facts from opinions, no side conversations, phones silent, laptops only when relevant.
It's in the focus.
And being mindful of language to keep the dialogue productive and respectful, it just helps ensure the energy stays focused on the strategic task at hand.
Makes sense. Now, what about everyone else? The people not in the planning sessions, but who'll need to execute the plan later?
Great question. You absolutely have to keep them in the loop.
How do you do that effectively?
With a broad launch notification to the whole organization. This isn't just a memo, it's strategic communication. Its purpose is to share what the planning team is doing. Maybe conducting a SWOT, defining strategies, creating action plans. Let people know what's happening. And critically, explicitly tell them that they will be asked to review and comment on the outcomes. Emphasize that their input is vital.
So it's inclusive from the start.
Exactly. It builds understanding, makes people feel involved even if they weren't in the room, and lays the groundwork for buy-in when it's time to execute. You're building allies.
All right, strategic planning needs solid data. It's not just about opinions around a table. What kind of information are we really talking about here?
Well, the specific data really depends on the industry, the organization's context. But generally, you're looking both internally and externally.
Okay, internally.
Things like your financial health, access to capital, the skills and knowledge, the KSAs of your workforce, leadership quality, production capacity, maybe union relations, specific concerns around your products, safety, legal stuff, warranties, quality, all that internal plumbing.
Yeah, and externally.
That's looking at competitors, their size, what they're capable of, their reputation, how they might react to your moves. Market conditions, is it growing? Are there new players? Price pressures. Also the labor market, government regulations, technology trends, lifestyle shifts, economic factors affecting buying habits, and the power dynamics with your suppliers and your customers.
Wow, that's a lot to consider. It's a full 360-degree view.
It really is. You're mapping your entire operating universe.
So where does all this data come from? How do you actually gather it?
You tap into multiple sources. Your own internal departments, HR, operations, IT, they hold a ton of crucial info.
Employee surveys. Absolutely vital. They give you that internal pulse check on mission, vision, values, management effectiveness, commitment, operations, capabilities, communication.
And customers.
Essential. End user surveys help you understand why they buy from you, how they see you versus the competition, and what they might want next in terms of products or services.
But you mentioned avoiding data paralysis.
Right. The goal isn't to collect every piece of data imaginable. It's to get just enough reliable information to make valid, credible decisions. Informed, but not swamped.
Okay, so you've gathered the data. Now you're in the planning session. How does the team actually make decisions with all this information?
Ah, decision making. Yeah, that can be tricky. There are different ways teams approach it, some better than others.
Hey,
Well, sometimes teams just fail to decide. Or the highest ranking person just makes the call. Or maybe the loudest person wins the argument. Voting is another way. Majority rules.
but the source recommended something specific,
Yes, it strongly advocates for consensus.
even though it might take longer. Exactly. It might seem less efficient upfront, but consensus forces that deeper dialogue, that necessary debate. The decisions that emerge are usually more robust, more credible, and critically, they have much stronger buy-in. Because everyone had their say, wrestled with the options, and ultimately agreed to support the outcome, even if it wasn't their first choice on every single point.
It's about shared understanding of the why.
Precisely.
Okay, let's talk about a core tool here. SWOT analysis. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. What makes it so powerful?
SWOT is great because it's both a technique and a tool. As a technique, it gives you a structured way to explore and identify those key internal factors, your strengths and weaknesses, and the key external factors, opportunities and threats.
And as a tool.
As a tool, it's basically a framework, often a simple four-box grid, to capture those findings. What makes it powerful is that it forces the team to synthesize potentially huge amounts of information and really focus on the variables that matter most. What are the critical few things driving our situation?
Cuts through the noise.
It does. The outcome should be a manageable list of the most important SWOTs. And that list then acts as a guide, a compass, for the rest of the planning process, making sure your strategy is grounded in reality.
But the real value isn't just filling the boxes, is it?
Oh, definitely not. The real strategic gold often comes from the discussions, the debates, sometimes the uncomfortable truths that surface when you force yourselves to categorize things this way. It shines a light on blind spots.
All right, so we've analyzed the present with SWOT. Now it's time to define the future. Let's start with the mission statement. What's the organization's core purpose right now?
The mission statement is really about clarifying that short-term purpose. What are we striving to do day in and day out for maybe the next year, year and a half?
What kinds of questions help define that?
Teams might ask, what's our fundamental focus? What specific needs are we trying to meet, or what problems are we solving? What are our core products or services? Who are we serving? What market? Also, what impression do we want to make? And importantly, what values should guide our actions as we pursue this mission?
Got any examples?
Sure. Think of Ben & Jerry's focus on linked prosperity, economic success tied to social good, or Hershey wanting to bring sweet moments of happiness. These show how a mission, whether abstract or concrete, shapes behavior. It's your why for the immediate future.
Okay, so mission is the now. What about the later? That's the vision statement, right?
Exactly. The vision statement is aspirational. It's about what the organization wants to become, where it hopes to be further down the road, maybe 5, 10, even 20 years out.
So it paints that long-term picture.
It does. It clarifies that future function, the big opportunities you'll go after, the needs you'll fulfill then, the kind of impact you want to have. And it's really powerful for employees because it helps them see how their work today connects to building that future. It gives meaning to the daily grind.
Like Junior Achievement's belief in the boundless potential of young people.
Perfect example. Or Land O'Lakes wanting to be one of the best food and agricultural companies in the world. It's that ultimate destination you're aiming for.
So we have the now mission and the future vision. What guides the journey between them? The values.
Precisely. Identifying those mission and vision critical values and principles is key. They act as your ethical compass.
Making sure you do the right thing for the right reason.
Exactly. They ensure decisions and actions align with your intentions. The big question here is, given our mission and vision, what values must guide us to achieve them optimally? These could be broad things like integrity, accountability, passion, like we see at BASF or Kellogg's K values.
Humility, simplicity, results.
Right. Or they could be very specific to the company culture, like Land O'Lakes emphasizing people, performance, customers, quality, and integrity. These aren't just nice words on a wall. They should genuinely guide behavior and choices. especially when resources are tight. They're the non-negotiables.
Okay, this next one sounds really interesting. The organization's sweet spot. What's that?
The sweet spot is that magic intersection. It's where your organization's purpose from the mission, its passion from the vision, and its core capabilities, what you're uniquely good at, all overlap.
Why is finding that intersection so important?
Because that's where you find the most energy, the most momentum. It helps you harness your unique strengths to achieve your mission and drive towards your vision most effectively.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about GE. Maybe their sweet spot is using their collective imagination, passion vision, and global business capabilities to tackle the world's biggest problems, purpose mission. Or a smaller example, a real estate investment group. Their passion might be helping people achieve home ownership dreams, vision. Their purpose is providing affordable housing mission. And their capability is acquiring and managing properties efficiently. That intersection is their sweet spot.
It's where you can have the biggest impact, almost effortlessly.
Well, maybe not effortlessly, but certainly most powerfully and sustainably. It's where you truly shine.
All right, we know the purpose, the passion, the values, the sweet spot. Now, how do we actually get there? This is about the how, the strategies, right?
Exactly. This is the brainstorming phase.
Right.
The planning team needs to figure out, how do we leverage our strengths and opportunities? How do we mitigate our weaknesses and threats? How do we live our purpose, deliver value, hit that sweet spot, and ultimately achieve our mission and vision?
Time for creativity and innovation.
Absolutely. Thinking about existing products, services, markets, capabilities, but also envisioning completely new ones. The source mentions using an affinity diagram here, which is a great technique.
How does that work?
Everyone brainstorms ideas individually first, no judgment. Then you share them. Then as a group, you start clustering similar ideas together into natural themes. Finally, you create short header cards to label each theme. It's a structured way to capture a lot of diverse ideas, organize them, and build consensus around the core means or strategies for success.
Turning a flood of ideas into a clear path. Okay, so we have these broad means or strategies. How do we make them more concrete and decide which ones to focus on first?
That's where strategic goals come in. They take those broader means and add clarity and specificity.
What should a good strategic goal clarify?
It should make it clear how the mission and vision will be achieved, how the values will actually be demonstrated, what specific opportunities in that sweet spot you're going after. And they also set boundaries, guiding decisions by clarifying what's in and what's out.
And prioritizing them sounds crucial if you can't do everything at once.
Absolutely. The bubble sort method is suggested as a useful tool here.
Bubble sort, like in computing.
Sort of.
Right.
First, you define your prioritization criteria, maybe impact on mission vision, likelihood of success, cost, realism, how well it resonates with stakeholders.
Right.
Then you write each goal on a sticky note. You take 2 notes, compare them against the criteria, and put the higher priority one first. Then you compare the second and third, and so on, swapping as needed. You keep going through the list until you can do a full pass without swapping any notes. Then they're sorted by priority.
A methodical way to force those tough choices.
Exactly. It ensures your resources go to the most impactful goals first.
Okay, we've got the prioritized strategic goals, the what and the how at a high level, but it's still kind of theoretical, isn't it? How do we make it real day to day?
This is where the action plan is absolutely critical. It's the bridge from strategy to execution.
Translating goals into tasks.
Precisely. It breaks down those strategic goals into specific, concrete tactics, and those tactics into major and minor tasks. It's the real blocking and tackling, the detailed work needed on the ground.
What are the essential pieces of a good action plan?
There are 5 key elements. 1, describe the strategic goal clearly. 2, describe the means, the tactics, and tasks needed. 3, who's responsible. Assign specific individuals. 4, deadlines. Clear timeframes are essential. And 5, metrics. How will you measure progress along the way and ultimate success?
Can you give a quick example?
Sure. Say a strategic goal is develop and retain optimal talent. A tactic might be evaluate professional development needs. Minor tasks under that could be determine hiring needs, assess work environment, create leadership development plans, each with someone responsible, a deadline, and a way to measure if it's done well.
That granular detail makes it actionable.
Exactly. Clarity and accountability.
But things rarely go exactly to plan, right? What about unexpected problems, roadblocks?
That's where the contingency plan comes in. You have to anticipate potential obstacles.
Planning for things going wrong.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
The contingency plan identifies challenges or impediments that are likely to interfere with your action plan and then outlines realistic, doable countermeasures for each.
And these challenges link directly to the action plan.
They have to. If a challenge is identified, it needs to relate to a specific tactic or task. The plan then clearly shows the link. If this challenge happens, we will implement this countermeasure.
So, like, if a key person leaves.
Right. The challenge might be key employees with mission-critical knowledge leave. A countermeasure could be develop and implement a succession plan or start a mentoring program.
So you're not scrambling when the unexpected hits.
Exactly. It builds resilience, allows you to pivot effectively, minimizes panic.
Okay, here's a classic failure point. A great plan gets created, but then it just sits on a shelf. Communication breakdown. How do you avoid that? How do you ensure everyone knows the plan?
You hit on a huge one. The old sayings is true. Communicate, 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 and then communicate some more. You really can't overdo them.
So a formal communication plan is needed.
Absolutely vital. Not just helpful, vital. This supplemental plan should detail the key messages for different groups, employees, managers, customers, etc. It should identify the best times and situations to deliver those messages, the right channels or vehicles, emails, meetings, newsletters, and it needs assigned responsibility, who sends what, when, and how do we measure if the communication was effective.
What are the core principles of good strategic communication?
Frequent, clear messages. Always provide the big picture. How does this all fit together? Mission, vision, values, goals, tasks. Connect the dots for people. Definitely needs a strong top-down component, showing leadership commitment. Share progress, updates regularly, what's changing, but also, importantly, what's staying the same.
That reduces anxiety.
Exactly. Using something like a communication matrix can help structure all this. Without deliberate, ongoing communication, the best plan is just a secret.
Right. And strategic plans often mean change, big change sometimes, and people naturally resist change. How do you manage that? How do you get people to embrace it?
Change management can't be an afterthought. It has to be baked into the strategic planning process itself.
Proactive, not reactive.
Yes. A supplemental change management plan is key here. It should explore what's the nature of the change? How big is it? What's our organization's actual capacity to handle this change right now? It also needs to identify potential obstacles. Maybe leaders aren't great at managing strategically. Maybe there's a history of failed change efforts that makes people cynical.
Addressing the barriers head on.
Exactly. And then developing specific actions to leverage strengths and accelerate the change.
What helps make change stick?
Active, visible leadership is crucial. Leaders need to facilitate adoption. Clearly articulating the why, the vision for the change, tailoring messages to different groups, making sure processes support the change, don't hinder it, and consistently recognizing and rewarding the new behaviors you want to see. The plan should outline goals for each stage, setting the stage, introducing the change, reinforcing it with actions, owners, and timelines. It's about guiding people through it.
Okay, to keep a strategic plan alive and kicking in a busy organization, is there one specific role that's absolutely essential for maintaining focus and momentum?
Yes, there really is. It's the role of the executive sponsor.
Why is that sponsor so critical?
Think about it. Organizations are complex. There are always competing priorities, new initiatives popping up, constant demands on everyone's time and attention.
The signal gets lost in the noise.
Exactly. The sponsor is the one who constantly recalibrates attention, brings the focus back to the strategic plan. This person needs both formal authority and informal influence.
What do they actually do?
They champion the plan relentlessly. They advocate for it. They help knock down barriers, especially around resources. They share successes and lessons learned. They reinforce everyone else's efforts. They talk about the plan's importance in meetings, in emails, externally. They weave it into the fabric of the organization, making sure objectives get built into things like performance reviews.
Without that champion, the plan could just fizzle out.
It often does, like a ship without a captain keeping it on course.
Now, how do organizations make sure they're measuring success properly? It's easy to just focus on one metric like profit and miss other important things, right?
Absolutely. That's where the balanced scorecard comes in. It's a brilliant tool developed by Kaplan and Norton, specifically to combat that tendency to focus too narrowly.
How does it provide balance?
It forces the organization to look at performance from 4 distinct but interconnected perspectives, not just financial things like growth, profit, revenue.
But also
Also, customer perspective satisfaction, market share, retention. Then internal business process efficiency, quality, speed, innovation, and how you operate. And finally, learning and growth, employee skills, capabilities, organizational culture, innovation capacity.
So it gives a holistic view.
Exactly. It helps ensure that improving one area, say financials, doesn't happen at the expense of another, like customer satisfaction or employee development. It promotes coordinated, enterprise-wide success.
So you might track customer satisfaction scores and internal process speed and financial results.
Precisely. All linked back to the overall strategy.
Okay, even with a great plan, a sponsor, and balanced metrics, people can still resist. How do you get genuine commitment, turn resistors into advocates?
That requires active stakeholder management. It's about systematically strengthening commitment.
How does that work in practice?
First, you identify all the key stakeholders, anyone significantly impacted by or crucial to the plan's success. Then you analyze where they currently stand. Are they resisting? Neutral? Accepting? Already advocating?
And the goal is to move them towards advocacy.
Yes, especially those who are neutral or resisting. You need tailored strategies for each stakeholder or group. That might mean one-on-one meetings, really highlighting the specific benefits for them, sharing targeted information, explaining the support they'll receive. It's about understanding their perspective and addressing their concerns directly.
Building bridges, basically.
Exactly. Turning potential roadblocks into active supporters.
And finally, strategic planning isn't just a one-time project, is it? It needs to be ongoing. How do you sustain that?
You're absolutely right. Continuous improvement is key for both the planning process itself and for strategy execution.
How do you facilitate that learning?
Through ongoing assessment. You can use things like a readiness assessment before you launch execution to see if people are prepared, understand the changes, and identify potential issues early. Then, during execution, you can use spot surveys. These are quick check-ins to gauge how things are going. Are people understanding the communication? Do they feel supported? Are new challenges emerging?
Getting real-time feedback.
Yes. And crucially, you need periodic strategy review sessions. Maybe monthly, maybe quarterly.
What happens in those?
You evaluate performance against the goals, you identify lessons learned, what's working well, what isn't, you share best practices, and you make necessary course corrections while the plan is still in motion.
Adapting as you go.
Exactly. This commitment to ongoing learning and adaptation is what really builds an organization's strategic muscle over time. It becomes a cycle of learning, adapting, and achieving. Hashtag tag tag outro.
Okay, wow. We have covered a lot of ground today. We've really taken a deep dive into strategic planning, haven't we? From seeing it in simple daily tasks all the way to its huge impact on organizations.
We certainly have.
And hopefully for you listening, you've gained some real insights into defining purpose, sorting through complex information, building plans that actually work, and making sure they get executed effectively. These are such crucial skills for success anywhere.
And if you step back and think about the bigger picture, this deliberate, systematic approach of strategic planning, it's fundamentally about turning uncertainty into purposeful action. That applies way beyond business.
Interesting point.
So here's a thought to leave you with. Where in your own life or work, maybe a big project, a career goal, even a community initiative, could applying this kind of structured, data-driven planning unlock potential you haven't seen, cut through the chaos, and really help you achieve something meaningful?
That's a great question to ponder. We really hope this deep dive gave you useful tools and maybe sparked some new ideas about planning. If you found value here today, please do us a favor like this deep dive, share it with someone else who might find it useful, and definitely subscribe to our channel. We want to bring you more shortcuts to being well-informed.
Your support really helps us keep doing this.
It absolutely does.
Thanks so much for diving deep with us today.